They got Auburn in a man-to-man defense, and the key for them is, as they've done all season, hold opponents under about 10 points per game.
Jada Richard off the mark. Grace Knox got a hand on it. Caitlyn Duhan coming up with it in the orange. And so that's going to be one thing that's critical as you take a look at the starting lineup for the Auburn Tigers. And Coulibaly, Harrison Coulibaly, who has been so important in this lineup, along with Jemiah Harris, who's coming off a great game. She had an SEC best 18 points in her last outing against Florida.
It's going to be interesting to watch Auburn and how do they manipulate their offense and use a lot of the shot clock.
Well, Kim Mulkey going with two freshmen this afternoon, with Zakaya Johnson and Grace Knox getting the start. Only one other time had they put that starting lineup together. That was a non-conference, but Kim Mulkey feeling really good about this impressive freshman class.
Well, these two freshmen, you start with Grace Knox. Over the last 6 games, she's averaged about 10 rebounds a game, a little over that. And then Zakaya Johnson, she's got about 8 rebounds a game. That's how you get playing time for Kim Mulkey.
Well, Michaela Williams fouled on the way up, the All-SEC performer. They're going to need to have more performances like she had last game against Texas as they continue to make this crunch time push.
Yeah, against Texas, Michaela Williams put up 20 points for the second time against Texas, but she cannot do it by herself. And you look at what she has done over the last 3 games and the field goal percentage, the efficiency, shooting 57%.
Knocking down both free throws and the first 2 points on the road for LSU.
Watching that shot clock, the discipline that Auburn has to play with against LSU.
Jemiah Harris off the mark there for 3, and Flau'jae Johnson back the other way. Johnson, one of the double-digit scorers for Kim Mulkey's crew, averaging 14 a game. Jada Richard, who runs the squad, a sophomore looking for a little crease over, kicks out to Williams, and Michaela Williams knocks down the 3. So she's got all 5 points to start things off for LSU here on the road.
Tiffany, you and I had the LSU-Alabama game before LSU played Texas. I think that was their best all-around game. Not only did they get those points in the paint that Kim Mulkey hangs her hat on, they hit 10 threes in that game.
They're able to knock it down from outside, shooting 38% on the season. Whitaker tried to do the same, couldn't go, and LSU has numbers out in transition, and the easy find from Richard to Zakaya Johnson.
That's another attribute for those freshmen, both Johnson and Knox. They run the floor so well for LSU.
Well, the series that has been controlled by Auburn historically, LSU winning the last, but Auburn trying to pick up their second top 25 win of the season. They were able to down in-state rival Alabama earlier this season, and that was a big win for Larry Vickers in his first year on the Plains as the head coach for the Auburn Tigers. 10 years spent at Norfolk State, had a lot of success there, and now getting this grand opportunity here in the SEC. Out in transition, nice Euro stepping. Coulibaly gets her own rebound, puts it back in the first 2 for the Tigers.
That's another freshman that has been spectacular for Auburn, running the point, running and pushing in transition.
More playing time as she's moved into the starting lineup in SEC play. Tough inside for Zakaya Johnson, and that's just the strength and determination that you see from the freshman.
Well, and when you look at Zakaya Johnson at 6 foot and Grace Knox 6'2", that's small from the post play in the SEC, but their verticals allow them to play big inside.
Flau'jae Johnson pestering the ball handler, and Kim Mulkey can rely on both Flau'jae Johnson, Michaela Williams, 2 returning starters. Mulkey in the wonderfully successful career that she's had, and 26th season overall, 5th year at LSU, a couple of Elite 8 runs. You go back to 2023 in that national championship season. And this LSU Tiger team in position to make a play for the SEC regular season championship. Potentially anything can happen for certain, and of course the SEC tournament coming up starting March 4th, and just through the hands of Grace Knox, and LSU turns it over. Their second so far.
Now, Tiffany, you mentioned the gauntlet of the next 3 weeks of SEC play. I mean, anything can happen. when you have 10 teams ranked in the top 25 every night in the SEC, it's going to be a battle.
And it's also going to be a head-scratcher for the committee, right? And we will talk about that throughout and as we push through the regular season, just about how difficult it's going to be when you look at seeding right now. LSU, a 2 seed in Charlie Cream's latest bracketology. And, again, a lot of SEC teams in play, 11 in total as of today.
Well, I think the number one thing that's on Kim Mulkey's mind is the SEC tournament. Right now, LSU is sitting 5th. The top 4 teams get that double bye, so she's wanting to continue to accumulate wins and hopefully get in that top 4 grouping.
Inside, Knox, no. And the Tigers of Auburn come down with the rebound. Virginia Bayoso with the ball in her hand, one of the 10 newcomers on this team. Played at FIU the last couple of seasons.
We were at shoot-around last night. Kim Mulkey was talking about with her team, when the ball is on the wing, everybody flood ball side, get in the position. Don't want to allow that right there. Second chance opportunities.
Johnson on the tape, kisses it off the glass. And that's an area where Flau'jae Johnson excels. That's where she could be dangerous.
Yeah, in that Texas game, she was 3 of 14. Felt like she was forcing some shots. Using her stop and go in transition makes her so dangerous.
5th-ranked LSU off to a quick start, an 11-2 advantage here on the road. Will step aside. That Cancer Fund, who has done, or that has done so much, more than $9.5 million in fighting against all cancers affecting women. For more information, you can look up the K-Yao Cancer Fund or visit kyao.com. 11-4 ball game. It was Michaela Williams who got out to a quick start, scored the first 5 points for LSU. Mylasia Fulwiley now on the floor, along with Bella Hines and Amaya Joyner. Some fresh faces along with Kate Koval for Kim Mulkey's crew.
Well, the depth of this team that LSU has, I think, makes them a potential contender to be playing in Arizona in the Final Four. I mean, we saw them play some of their best basketball against Alabama and getting contributions from everybody. There have been 8 different players for LSU that have been moved into the starting lineup.
When you talk about just how well they played against Alabama, hit the century mark for the 12th time this season, scored 103 points. And when they're facing off against a team like Auburn, who tends to keep their opponents below their scoring average, Carolyn, I go back to the point of, again, how important is it and what does Auburn have to do to try to keep LSU, the biggest scoring team in the nation, from slowing down?
Well, the biggest thing that Larry Vickers is doing in building this program, this is his first year, and building it on the defensive side. So you want to make every shot for LSU tough, and you want to try to keep them out of the paint. If you can keep them out of the paint, make them take contested twos, and then on the offensive end, being patient, deliberate, and disciplined with your shot selection, because you take bad shots or quick shots, that's like a turnover for LSU.
Sharp with that last make on the other end for the Tigers. Meanwhile, for Auburn, they struggled offensively to put up points. And they're going to need a big effort from all 5 on the floor as time winding down on the shot clock, and it's heaved up by Sanaa Richardson, and it rims off. Michaela Williams transition 3, no. Zakaya Johnson pulling up to get that rebound. And missing to put back in.
It's going to be tough for Auburn to get buckets in transition as well, because LSU is so good with their transition defense.
Flau'jae with the find to Johnson, who is displaced. She's fouled and will go to the charity stripe.
See, that's what I'm talking about. A quick 3. That's transition for LSU. If you don't have a layup or an open look, if you're Auburn, then you need to pull the basketball out, run your offense. A 30-second or a shot clock violation, at least you get your defense set.
Well, Johnson at the line, the freshman out of Shelbyville, Kentucky. 5-star recruit, number 12 overall in ESPN's 2025 rankings, a very decorated high school career for Johnson. She leaves that second short, but a 4-time state champion, 4-time Gatorade Player of the Year.
She has just great toughness, and I love how she is so quick off the floor.
A nice find there, and then better defense from Johnson, who denies it. Johnson and the Tigers set up in the half court.
Love watching these two freshmen work in the paint. They're undersized, but they don't know it. They play tough inside.
Williams trying to feed it in to Knox, turns it over.
Ooh, and they worked on that for a long time at shoot-around last night.
That was something that Kim Mulkey felt like she could take advantage of. When you look at the size that's on the floor for Auburn, the tallest player, Claire Koulibaly, the junior out of Montreal, 6'3", stands the tallest. Closeout not in time. And 2 Tigers for Auburn wrestle for it, and they come up with it.
Claire Koulibaly, number 30 in orange for Auburn, is finally healthy and expected her to make an impact inside.
On the take, no. And coming up with it, Johnson wisely gets it back to Rashard, the point guard, and that one zipped across the court. Johnson takes a dribble in, no, follows her own shot, puts it back up once more. This time it's true.
Yeah, that is the one person, big fault, Flau'jae Johnson, that Kim Mulkey needs to step her game up to another level and do it consistently. We talked about she struggled shooting against Texas. She's only been in double figures in the last 4 games. So she's got to be more assertive offensively, more disciplined in the shot selection that she wants to take.
Want to see this more from third-team All-American from a season ago, when Flau'jae Johnson, who is one of those players projected to go out in the WNBA draft this season, and her skill set, when you look at it, can be dangerous when she pulls up, when she takes it off the dribble, and she can spot up and knock a 3 down too.
She gets that bounce today. The opponents are in trouble.
Rashard, no. And Harris and the Tigers hold for the final shot. Heaves it up at half court, no.
There, I think that will be highly, highly, highly watched, because South Carolina is sitting at number 1 right now, Tennessee at number 2. So, look, anything can happen in this SEC down the stretch. Vandy's sitting at number 3, but they've got a gauntlet of a schedule coming up, because, yeah, Vanderbilt's got to play Oklahoma and Texas. They got to go to Georgia. Tennessee's got to go to South Carolina. Then they've got Missouri. Then they have to play Texas. So these next 3 games across the league are going to be something to watch.
And certainly we hope that you'll all be tuned in for the SEC tournament March 4th through the 8th in our ESPN family of networks, because you just never know what's going to happen.
If you ain't got your tickets, I'm going to tell you, you better order them now, because that tournament is going to be, there's going to be a battle every night, starting on day 1.
6 points in the first quarter for Auburn, and they struggled from the field. But if you look at a bright spot for Larry Vickers, what do you see after the first 10 minutes for them?
Number 1, you held LSU to 6 points in the paint. Number 2, LSU only scored 16 points in that first quarter. This LSU team is a team that averages over 97 points a game.
Daniels for 3, and Zakaya Daniels off the mark. When you're looking at pace of play, how can Auburn slow down this game, because LSU likes to get out and run?
Well, I think first of all, offensively, you need to try to make LSU score late in the shot clock. Let it, if you can hold them, that means they've got to go to their second, third, or fourth option and get 10 seconds or under. And then on the offensive end, you've got to be just as patient. Now, with the tough defense of LSU, yeah, you got to look for the best shot, but don't force an early shot.
Johnson snags down another rebound. Zakaya Johnson now with 5 points and 5 rebounds for LSU. We talked about the Two freshmen starting together for the second time this season. Grace Knox, Zakaya Johnson.
See, this is a good defensive possession for Auburn. You're down into 8, 7, 6 seconds.
Great find at the end there from Williams. And Grace Knox, who appears to be gassed just a little bit, will go to the free throw line. And she was standing inside looking for it. And she brings a ton of energy to the floor, Carolyn. She's working hard here this afternoon.
Grace Knox is one of my favorite freshmen to watch because she plays, her energy is like it's senior day and she's a senior and she's just a freshman. And I talked to her about that the last time we were in Baton Rouge, and she said that's what she wants people to see in her, because she said she was one of those kids that didn't think she might make it to playing at this level at a program like LSU, and just wanted to demonstrate hard work can pay off, but you got to do it every day.
Fantastic freshman from Las Vegas, Nevada will get a well-deserved breather as my Joyner checks in the ball game. Number of newcomers, new faces for Kim Mulkey in addition to that freshman class. A couple of transfers. My Joyner comes over from East Carolina.
Another freshman is Bella Hines, number 3 in purple. And Kim Mulkey really compliments her about, she does the blue-collar stuff. She knows where the rotations are defensively and just works hard to fill in the gaps.
Continuing to get top talent in. That's no problem for Kim Mulkey's team, but they're up 20-6 here and trying to hold a struggling Auburn team in this offensive possession. Single digits now on the shot clock. Coulibaly over to Duhan, and Caitlyn Duhan can't get it to fall. Last touch by LSU, so Auburn will get another opportunity.
Now, Auburn is getting open looks, and those are the shots that Kim Mulkey wants them to allow Auburn to take. But then you better make sure you clean that up by it's a one and done, not giving them those offensive rebounds.
Larry Vickers has talked about just the challenges that his team has faced offensively, a number of woes, but he says one thing that is not done is it doesn't dictate their attitude. They still show up to work each day, ready to go, and trying to improve and get better.
But isn't it a heck of a year for you to have your first year taken over in the SEC? 10 teams are ranked in the top 25. 10! That's, hey, there's no warm-up. There's no breaking in. You got to go full force.
Well, they always talk about the welcome to the SEC moments for players, and I think this is one as a coach for Larry Vickers as well, just because of the grand challenge that it is game in and game out. Off the rebound, Mylasia Flau'jae, a little flash there, and she's fouled. Flau'jae, who comes off the bench, the junior who transferred in this season, averaging better than 13 points a game. And Flau'jae just so shifty and speedy, and also really strong on the defensive end as well.
Well, that flash to her game. Kim Mulkey likes it. You can't harness that. You got to let her go with it.
Well, this is one of the best women's basketball matchups of the night tomorrow, right here on the SEC Network. Madison Booker and the 4th-ranked Texas Longhorns hosting Clara Strack and number 16 Kentucky. That's at 7:30 right here on the SEC Network and also on the ESPN app.
Now, you know, I'm a former post player,
okay,
but I love the guard matchup. You got Tony Morgan and Rory Harmon. I mean, that in itself. Now, yeah, you're going to have Clara Strack. She's going to go, you know, against Cunningham and Carleton inside of Texas. Then you got to deal with a Madison Booker. But I think it all starts at the top with those 2-point guards.
I got to say this, Carolyn. I've heard you talk a lot more about guard play these days in this season.
Let me tell you.
As a former post player, what's up with that?
Okay, so let's go to Kim Mulkey, who loves to get those points in the paint. And I asked her why, and she said, the better post play you have, the better guard play you're going to get. Man. So with those posts battling inside, then it highlights what those guards can do.
And you know Kim Mulkey loves to play inside out, and great find in the paint for my Joyner, who finishes it off. Credit Bella Hines with the assist. The Tigers, who picked up points the last time down the floor at the free throw line. It was Harrison Koulibaly.
Yeah, see, again, that's a good open look for Auburn. They just haven't been able to knock it down.
Tough take there, and it gets the friendly roll for Sanaa Richardson. Sanaa Richardson out of the state of Oklahoma, coming over to Auburn, Alabama to play with the Tigers. And there's Bella Hines once more, because she does plays like that. You talked about the blue-collar nature of Bella Hines, and that was a wonderful example. Right place, get the rebound, and that's how she's earned more minutes on the floor.
Look, offense is not going to be drawn up for Bella Hines. So how do you get your points in plays like that? You're reading when the shot goes up and where to come from.
Backcourt, yeah. Mia is an absolute baller. Okay, but when you break down that matchup for Tennessee, South Carolina, I mean, where's the advantage? Because South Carolina's got a lot of bigs there. They've got shooting on the outside with, Tessa Johnson and company against this, kind of unorthodox style of play that you see out of the Lady Vols.
Well, what Dawn Staley has demonstrated is her team they're like an amoeba. They can morph into different things. They can go with a small lineup and have Joyce Edwards at the 5. They can go traditional with 2 posts, Joyce Edwards at the 4, or they can go gigantic with, you put Okot, Adele Todd, or Allie Turnabies, who's 6'6" and 6'7", and move Joyce Edwards to the 3. That versatility, I mean, the scouting report, when you're preparing for South Carolina, it's got to look like a Sears and Roebuck catalog we used to go through for Christmas.
No, wait a minute. They're not used to those types of catalogs. You got to put it like, it's like the Cheesecake Factory menu. You know what I'm saying?
True,
like
okay.
There's so many different options there. You just got to keep flipping through. I can do this, I can do this. Maybe I'll try that.
Yeah, that's true, because I get that menu and I'm like, okay, where do I start? Yeah, that's kind of what opponents at times look at South Carolina. And especially the way Raven Johnson is playing right now. Some of her best basketball in her final season at South Carolina.
My Joyner goes to the floor. Jump ball, possession arrow goes with the home team. So Auburn will regain possession.
Larry Vickers has to come in this game with specific goals. One is you got to limit LSU's points in the paint. Number 2, you've got to try to keep them off the glass. Right now, only 5 offensive rebounds, and then you cannot turn the ball over. Right now, Auburn, they have 7, and we're halfway through the second quarter.
And here's the key component there. Of those 7 turnovers, they've not been able to capitalize on points off of those turnovers. Again, we saw a lot of that yesterday. Can't finish for Johnson, but that's what Kim Mulkey saw that she could kind of probe through and take advantage of against this Auburn team going over the side.
But Auburn getting stops in the paint. If the ball does come inside, they're making it as difficult as possible on LSU.
Well, Larry Vickers, when you have some perspective about what he had to do, again, the short amount of time that he had to be able to assemble a team, about 30 days in kind of a scramble drill, if you will. Some of the key pieces or cornerstones that have been a part. Caitlyn Duhan, who's in the corner, who's been a part of this program, along with Sarai Daniels.
Well, Vickers was familiar with the SEC. He's had to face an SEC team when he got Norfolk State to the NCAA tournament. Had to go against South Carolina. So he knew what he was getting himself into.
And nice and pretty stroke from 3 for Flau'jae Johnson. Flau'jae now with 7 points in this contest.
I mean, you look at Zakaya Johnson's three-point shooting, 43%, and I think her best 3 ball is the catch and shoot.
Richardson once again for the take. Sanaa Richardson. She's got 6 points now. That's just about double her season average. So Richardson is stepping up And there she is, number 11 in purple, Zakaya Johnson. We came on talking about she is a part of this dynamic freshman class, and Johnson, who just continues to catch your eye when she's on the floor.
Yeah, she's already got 7 points today, and she always is in the right place at the right time, and she's not just standing around. Yeah, she may be only 6 feet, but she's posting and having her hands ready to get the ball inside at any given opportunity.
7.7 rebounds in her last game. Remember, we called that game you mentioned at Alabama where she had a double-double, getting another start here in SEC play.
Seeing LSU now playing Michaela Williams at the 4, so they have 1 true post and 4 guards on the floor.
Richardson again on the attack. She has been looking and hunting for her shot. She's been aggressive offensively. Johnson finds Koval.
Great look.
Wonderful, wonderful offense right there. And Kate Koval, who has just been a steady presence anytime she's been on the floor for Milwaukee this season. Duhan reaches it. No. Poked out. LSU comes up with it. They've got numbers. 4-2, and Flau'jae Johnson pulls up. No. And closing in on the final minute of the first half. It has been all LSU from the opening tip. Richardson can't hit. And again, another tough shooting afternoon for the Tigers at 17%. 0 for 13 from 3. Meanwhile, on the other end, that's the third made triple for LSU. Michaela Williams and company on an 8-0 run here. And looking to go into the locker room with plenty of cushion. Petticourt back to Richardson. Kicks it over. Duhan for 3. She thought she got fouled, but that takes us. Their defense held Auburn to a season low for a half.
Right away, going to a post up to Michaela Williams inside. She's not able to finish. Now, Auburn's they've got to find some offense. And right now, the clog is paint. They need one of these outside shots to fall, and they got to take care of the basketball.
Off the steal in transition. No on the fast break layup for Jada Richard. And it's going to be Auburn basketball.
In your players, Richard saw that it went off Auburn. Kim Mulkey trusted it, and that's why she asked for the appeal.
Koulibaly kicks it in the corner.
But you see, the ball is being passed around the perimeter.
We didn't see enough of that in the first half, Carolyn, in terms of just the hard, aggressive takes to the basket. There were a lot of open looks and good shots for Auburn that just didn't fall. For Jamia Harris back at the free throw line, Larry Vickers, as he's looking to see some improvement here in this second half, wants to see more of that.
Well, I think that in the first half, Auburn settled for way too many three-point shots. They were 0 for 14 from 3.
And Jamia Harris, who we mentioned, had her best performance in SEC play with 18 points, 7 rebounds in that loss to Florida Thursday. Auburn split with the Gators, winning the earlier regular season matchup, one of their 2 SEC wins. Zakaya Johnson's on fire. She keeps on going.
Well, in the vertical, did you see that little hang time, gather, on balance, off 2 feet for the finish?
Making the most of yet another start here during SEC play, her 3rd in conference.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is a freshman. Off the pick and roll gather, that hang time, and the ability to use the glass.
4 of 7 from the floor for Zakaya Johnson. Well off the mark there. Michaela Williams is fouled as she sticks it in. First points off of a turnover for LSU this afternoon. And Williams continuing to add to her point total. Now with a dozen points this afternoon. A junior out of Bossier City, Louisiana.
Yeah, Michaela Williams, look, she's playing some of her best basketball in her junior season. She's shooting over 50% from the floor, over 40% from the three-point line.
Coulibaly had it stripped on the way up. And 15 seconds remain on the shot clock for Auburn.
Now here's the thing that LSU has got to do for the remainder of this half. You don't want to make that negative highlight tape that Kim Mulkey is going to make as they go on. They're preparing to play their next game, which is South Carolina. They're also preparing for March. So you cannot start clock watching. You've got to maintain your intensity and your discipline, even though you've got a big lead.
Duhan asking for Coulibaly to come take it. She's got it. 7 on the shot clock. Spin move in the lane. Rolls off. Williams gets it over to Richard. Johnson, who wanted it initially, tried to get set up. Jump ball. And wisely tying up Richard as Caitlyn Duhan causing that jump ball possession arrow for the Tigers in orange. All new Auburn team, first-year head coach Larry Vickers in his first season on the Plains. And you go back just a couple of years ago, it was a different style of Auburn team who took down LSU right here in Neville Arena.
Yeah, Honesty Scott Grayson had herself a day, and Jemai Mingo Young was huge. That little guard played with no fear going up against LSU.
It was the last time they knocked off, or first-ranked opponent that they knocked off since that time was that win over Alabama. That one rattles in for Richard. So Richard now with her first triple of the ball game. For total for LSU. 7-0 run for the visitors.
When you talked about Larry Vickers taking over this Auburn program, he only had about 30 days in recruiting, and an interesting thing that he said is not every kid wants to play in the SEC. You got to have some courage and a little bit of sass about your game to play in this league.
Out in transition, and Auburn taking advantage. Their first fast break points of the afternoon as Caitlyn Duhan finishes it off with the right hand. When we hear so frequently about everyone talking about how tough the SEC is, whether you're first entering into the conference or if you've been here for a while. Larry Vickers taking over for Johnny Harris, you mentioned, hired March 23rd of 2025. Only a couple of returners, no returning starters were back for him, so he had to build a practically new team, and his staff get to work quickly.
You know, what I like about what Larry Vickers is building here is a defensive mentality, because in this SEC, that's where you've got to battle. But you also, as Pat Summitt said, you don't take donkeys to the Kentucky Derby. He's got to get him some horses, and recruiting, now that he'll have, this whole next offseason to do some recruiting and attract some talent to come here to play.
As you're looking at areas of wins, if you will, thus far, I mean, you're taking the top scoring team in the nation right now. They've got 45 points, just more than halfway through, or just under halfway through the third quarter. So playing their pace of game.
Well, and when you look at the remaining schedule that Auburn has, they only have one ranked team. That is Kentucky, but there are no gimmies now because they got to play Texas A&M, Missouri, Georgia, and Arkansas.
Contact in the lane there, and Flau'jae Johnson will go to the line. Coulibaly whistled for the personal foul. Flau'jae Johnson, team's leading scorer coming in. She can create, she can just do so much as we let you know that this is our SEC Network Tuesday night men's basketball doubleheader. And it's number 15, Vanderbilt, coming right here to the Plains, followed by Arkansas at LSU. That's coming your way Tuesday. We're also on the ESPN app, and a blocking foul coming back the other way quickly up the floor as Jada Richard is whistled for the foul. That's her third. Richard, who had a tough day at the office against Texas, just 1 of 10 from the floor, only 2 points. That snapped a streak of 6 straight games in double figures, but we'll go back just a few games before. Been really impressed with the way that she has both played and led this Tiger team.
Well, you got to understand that Richard is a sophomore, and so there are going to be ebbs and flows. She didn't play very much her freshman year, so learning through those mistakes in the fourth quarter against Texas, that's where things kind of came unraveled, and that's where the point guard has got to take charge, especially in a tough game like that one. You know, talking to Kim Mulkey, and she said she didn't call a timeout in that fourth quarter because those are lessons and things that her team's got to play through and try to figure out.
Malaysia Fulwale nicked a piece of that one. Duhan almost came away with a steal. Zakaya Johnson full steam ahead, and she's rewarded with 2. Which Zakaya Johnson just keeps on getting better and better. We talked about just the young talent that LSU has assembled on this team. 14 points now for Johnson.
And 7 rebounds. She's got to go along with that.
Clara Coulibaly tracks it down. 5 to go on the shot clock. And a foul going against LSU. Of having those familiar faces, your Ruthie Boltons, your DeWanna Bonners, to be able to come back into the fold and really pour into a program that produced champions.
There were some greats here. You had Vicky Orr, CJ, Carolyn Jones was a baller here as well.
Flau'jae over to Malaysia Fulwale. This LSU team held below their scoring average thus far, as it was a slow start there in the first half, but you know that this team can kick it into gear at any time. One of the things that Larry Vickers talked about in terms of preparation against a team like LSU and the pace that they play, he says, look, we've already faced off against teams like Tennessee, like Oklahoma. So we're used to this speed that we typically see out of a team like LSU.
Well, and his kids are competing. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, the work hard, the want to, the effort is there.
After those free throws, Amaya Joyner checks back in as Kate Koval takes a seat. Richardson hauled in by Beyoso, excuse me. Jackson out to Coulibaly, and Coulibaly, the first 3 of the game, knocked down for Auburn. Clara Coulibaly, her first 3-pointer of the season. The answer back the other way from Flau'jae Johnson.
If there's anybody on the court that Michaela Williams is going to find, it is going to be a wide open Flau'jae.
Good take there, just couldn't finish for Lay. And you saw and heard the reaction in the arena. There's a decent amount of LSU fans that showed up here this afternoon in Auburn.
Well, you can always tell LSU fans because there's some form of glitter. You're going to be... Yeah, well, but we were just there last Thursday, and a fan sent Kim Mulkey a jacket that they had made, and the box itself had a picture of Pat Summitt coaching Kim Mulkey, and that meant so much to her. She wore the jacket to practice.
I love that, and just the giving nature. Women's basketball fans are so special, right? And just tying the threads and pieces together of the past and connecting them to now and showing the love. So super dope.
Well, and where women's basketball is right now, it's great talent. Every year it takes another step, so that when you turn the TV on, you're going to see great players like a Michaela Williams, a Flau'jae Johnson, be able to come out and really demonstrate the amount of work that they put in to be as good as they are.
And the leadership you see right there from Flau'jae Johnson. Hey, going over to my joiner, there was a missed opportunity there for Lane. That's all right. Keep your head up. You got to love, too, just the way that they have developed as leaders as well, because this is Flau'jae's team. This is her final season, along with Michaela Williams, who's a junior. They're the upperclassmen and the leaders of this bunch. Grace Knox coming in for Zakaya Johnson. Johnson, who has been terrific this afternoon, leading all scorers with 16 points.
When you look at, you're talking about Flau'jae Johnson, she came into this game needing 100 points to reach 2,000 in her career. That puts her in the same category as a Joyce Walker, a Simone Augustus, Julie Gross, and Cornelia Gayden, some of the greats that played at LSU.
And look, she's not that far away from getting in spot number 6 with Kayla Pointer, but you talk about a Simone Augustus, the Final Fours that she went to with this LSU program, going on to be a 4-time champion in the WNBA, a Hall of Famer indeed. And Money Moan, I mean, she was queen of the mid-range.
Oh.
Nobody did it better. And I know Madison Booker has got a lot of love, but let's give some love right here to Harrison Koulibaly, the freshman, the takeaway, and take it in for 2.
Yeah, Koulibaly is only a freshman. When she realizes how good she really is, because off the bounce and her athleticism, you see her getting a steal here, the attack, body control, focus, and the finish. This freshman's going to be special.
Top 100 player, according to ESPN, and originally from Mali, moved to France as a teenager before coming here to the States.
She got moved into the starting lineup in the SEC season, and Larry Vickers talked about he didn't want to. Duhan took that one on the chin.
Well, you see, that's an element of toughness from Caitlyn Duhan, the redshirt junior out of Houston, Texas. The strongest defender on the floor. And sacrificing her body there.
Vickers been talking about Koulibaly, not starting her until SEC play, wanted to really work her in, let her experience the college level before you take on the gauntlet of the SEC.
I've heard it said a number of different ways. It's a gauntlet. I remember Mike Neighbors, who's in studio with us throughout the season, talked about it's kind of like an Iditarod, but like, for those who are casual fans that don't quite appreciate or know to what extent the SEC is like, why is it like that? Well, here's a great example. You think about the net rankings, right? The SEC is 36, leading all the Power 4 conferences. Only, Carolyn, 4 teams outside that net top 35.
Well, I think the commitment that universities have made to women's basketball has allowed the SEC to attract some of the best talent in the country. And it's not just to one team. I mean, back in the day, everybody wanted to go to Tennessee, and that was maybe Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia were the top teams. Well, now you go 1 through 10. I mean, you look at Oklahoma signs a player like Aaliyah Chavez, the super freshman, that is the point guard for them. Michaela Blake's now playing at Vanderbilt. I mean, there's great talent across this league.
Which makes it all the more difficult, right? Like, we're still trying to figure out over the last few weeks of the regular season who will be the regular season champ. Right now, South Carolina with a 2-game cushion over Tennessee, but they go head-to-head today.
Listen, the committee has got to watch the SEC. They can't just look at records. They have got to watch the talent that is on the floor, because when you've got 2 ranked teams going against each other, somebody's got to lose. So you cannot hold teams' records against them, because they have no choice. They've got to play each other in the same conference.
Well, you look at just LSU and their 3 losses this season, right? It was a buzzer beater to Kentucky to start out SEC play, a 4-point ball game earlier in the year against...
Lost to Kentucky, lost to Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt, thank you.
Yeah.
It was 4 points to Vanderbilt, and then you look at this Texas loss. I mean, all within striking distance and all within single digits.
Well, they had to play Texas twice, so they split that one.
Stolen away. The Tigers capitalize. Caitlyn Duhan gets this Auburn crowd going in the closing minute of the third. Great feed and find from My Joyner to her post buddy, Grace Knox.
That was a good thing that LSU broke that press, because I saw the mercury going up on Kim Mulkey across the court.
And turning up the heat was Flau'jae Flau'jae on defense to block from behind. And swatting it out of there. Another look.
Oh, she timed that one.
Well, Flau'jae, who has some ooh-ah moments on both ends of the floor. Spin move. And Lay is fouled. Addie Lay, who had some foul trouble in the first half, was limited. And now she'll go to the free throw line as Bella Hines whistled for her 4th personal foul. So Lay, who came in as an all-rookie selection out of the CAA a season ago from Townsend, gets her first point of the afternoon.
Yeah, she's been relatively quiet. This is a young woman that averages about 9 points a game. She also, getting on the glass, has not been as efficient as she has in previous games.
Deflected by Coulibaly, runs into the table. Flau'jae gets it, drops it off. Nice dime to Mama.
Thought we were going to get behind the back there
Right.
for a minute. She showed it and then had other options.
Fading away, tough shot for Coulibaly. LSU right there at the 15th toughest.
Well, I'm keeping an eye on this Tennessee-South Carolina game, because that's 1 and 2 in the SEC seedings right now. South Carolina's up 25-18. So that will, if Tennessee can hang around, if they can pull off a comeback in South Carolina, that would make things real interesting in the SEC.
Well, the Lady Vols will host Missouri and Texas next Sunday. We'll be there for that one in Knoxville. And then a tough one at Ole Miss, A&M, and they'll travel to Oklahoma and see LSU before it's all said and done and close out with Vandy. So, I mean,
again, I go back to that Vanderbilt team, and they've got Oklahoma on Monday. So you've got Michaela Blakes on the outside for Vandy. You got Reagan Spears inside for Oklahoma. So it's going to be a matter of, does Oklahoma win the paint with the addition of Aaliyah Chavez,
right,
who can, look, when she gets out of the car, she is open. But another point guard in Aubrey Galvin for Vanderbilt to go alongside Michaela Blakes. That's going to be a good one. I'm getting back to Nashville tonight. I will be at that game tomorrow.
Oh,
I just get to
have a front row seat.
I'm just a spectator tomorrow.
Okay. Just watching the Doors try to do their thing. I mean, they started out the season at 20-0. They had one of the last 2 undefeated teams in women's basketball. Michaela Blakes, as you mentioned, been outstanding. SEC leading scorer in the conversation for not only player of the year in the conference, but in the country. I can't even say that there is one particular player that stands out over the other in terms of that conversation for SEC player of the year this season.
There's a lot of options to pull from, but you're talking about Vandy's improvement. I think that, yes, you've got Michaela Blakes and Aubrey Galvin. They have Sasha Washington back, but I think the play of Justine Passat, that has become more than just a three-point shooter, and her versatility has helped the Commodores.
That one bounces down. Jamia Harris. On the floor for LSU, Mylasia Fulwiley, Bella Hines, Grace Knox, Divine Burridge, who has the ball in her hand, launches it from 3, connects from 3. So LSU continuing to keep up the defensive intensity, and she is the leading stealer in the SEC. We're talking Mylasia Fulwiley, 9th best in the nation. Those steps, those quick hands that she has, great anticipation.
One of the things that Kim Mulkey talks to her team about defensively is get your nose on the basketball. And you watch Mylasia Fulwiley, when her assignment is dribbling the basketball, she's always like planning little chess of when my opportunity is to take it. Today, look, this player also has got range.
Yep.
She's 2 for 2 on the season from the three-point line. There's that Alabama game, drew up a play, had her in the corner. Found her over there. She knocked it down.
6th game in double figures for Zakaya Johnson in SEC play. Another successful challenge, and coming out of the timeout, Grace Knox puts 2 more on the board for the Tigers.
Like, that's doing what you're supposed to do. Out of a timeout, there's no need to turn the ball over. You better execute it perfectly when you're coming right out of a little break with the ability to draw things up.
And heave that one into the stands. And a turnover there for Auburn. So Daniels takes it away. Zakaya Daniels out of Auburn, Alabama, gets the ball back and front irons the 3. Burridge, who already knocked down the 3, finds Bella Hines. Good ball movement, open look. Fulwiley can't hit. Snuffing out that all board. Maya Joyner. Fulwiley again puts it right there in the hands of Maya Joyner. Just the quickness that you see with Mylasia Fulwiley, and just how quickly the ball just leaves her hands.
She came to LSU so that she could really learn to play at that point position and making decisions. And look, it's trial and error, but that's the only way you learn is through experience. And she's getting a lot of that with LSU.
Grace Knox comes up with it, running the floor is Maya Joyner, and thrown over the head of Maya Joyner. The
look on Kim Mulkey's face. with that turnover. It's like unnecessary. It was amazing. Like, she just cannot believe it.
And a whistle on the floor. Foul called against LSU. And there's Frank Sterator, cousin of Gene Sterator. You talk about Super Bowl Sunday. His cousin was a referee in Super Bowl 52. So was a basketball official as well.
Who you got winning tonight, Tiff?
I got the Patriots. I think the Patriots are bad.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go with you on that.
Yep.
Vrabel was coach at the Tennessee Titans. Couldn't get it done, but goes to the Patriots.
Where he played and won.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Went back to familiar territory.
Yeah, no doubt. The question is, are the Super Bowl commercials going to be exciting? Last year I felt a little let down. There's none that really stick out in my mind. You know, it used to be where, you know, you had the frogs, but I can't say it on here. I should stop right there. But certain ones just stood out. I enjoy watching the Super Bowl not only for the game, but also for the commercials.
Well, I think some of the commercials that got leaked out until the Super Bowl. Now you get the advanced reveal. It doesn't have that same hype.
No. Just a reminder, Super Bowl is on ESPN and ABC next year. Meanwhile, when you are flipping up and down the channels this afternoon, SEC basketball just doesn't let up, right? There's Georgia, Missouri coming up after us. We already talked about South Carolina, Tennessee in action right now.
So I got to check the scores on that one.
Yeah.
So South Carolina up 7, 36-29. I thought it may be a three-point barrage from Tennessee. Right now, they're 4 of 10. South Carolina's 2 for 4. Tessa Johnson has hit 1. And Isla McDowell has hit 1.
How about Florida picking up a win? That was the game prior to us coming on the air.
Let me tell you that Alabama, Texas A&M. Texas A&M had a really good scout on South Carolina. I mean, they kept it close and were in striking distance there for a while till they turned the ball over, some shots stopped falling.
And a lot of contact right in front of us as Caitlyn Duhan, Bella Hines both go to the floor hard. Foul whistled against Duhan, her second. And when Coach Larry Vickers just talked about just the team and how it's built, he talked about Caitlyn Duhan being one of those important leaders for him, setting the example, coming in every day, being committed to the program the way that she is.
She was on that Auburn team that beat LSU a couple of years ago.
She's got those intangibles, and you see the numbers that have risen not only in points but also in steals per game, one of the top 5 in the conference. And he said, look, she could be, although maybe on the outside or an outlier, but could be one of those names in consideration for Defensive Player of the Year. Megan Yarnovich, who is in the ball game now. Call for the traveling violation. One of the 5 freshmen for Kim Mulkey out of Pontiac, Michigan.
She's one of the hardest workers at practice last night.
Yeah.
I mean, she posted it up big. Every play, every drill, going 100%. Number 15 in purple.
Did not play last game, so getting some action now in the closing minutes of this one.
That's the 18th turnover for Auburn.
Looking inside, Yarnovich, high off, no. Kate Koval had her hands around it, so did some Auburn players, and it's going to be Auburn Tiger basketball off the jump ball. We talked about just looking ahead, SEC tournament, then the NCAA tournament. In your opinion, and I've heard different answers from different coaches, is it more important to win the SEC tournament, or not more important, but do you have more stock in the SEC tournament, or do you just kind of look ahead to the NCAA tournament?
Well, here's the difference. And when I coached with Pat Summitt, she used to always say winning the SEC tournament was harder than winning a national championship, because when you're playing in the NCAA tournament, you got that day in between. The SEC tournament, it keeps coming. So especially for the teams that are not in that first four, like you've got to win 3 to 4 days in a row, back to back, against some of the top talent in the country.
And that's why it's going to be so important the rest of the way for LSU to try to win out as best as possible so they can try to move into a top 4 position. Remember, 1 through 4 gets a double bye in the SEC tournament, so they give themselves a little extra rest, 1 extra day of rest.
Well, that game day when South Carolina goes to Baton Rouge, that's the next game for the LSU Tigers.
And you want to know what's crazy? That's also during Mardi Gras.
Let me tell you something. And listen, Kim Mulkey feels for the students. Just get there early. Want to get as many of them in the arena as early as possible. She's looking up for them because we were just there when LSU played Mississippi State, and they were lined up outside before that game. So can you imagine when it's game day and South Carolina's in town? Can somebody bring me a king cake?
Oh, yes. Now, we learned not all king cakes are created equally.
Oh, no.
No. Okay.
Now, I had one with Kim Mulkey that had a strawberry cream on the inside. I'm going to
Okay.
I'm salivating thinking about that one right now. So good.
My statistician, Alan Thrifley, is from New Orleans. Hopefully he can hook us up with a king cake. Just throwing it out there now.
Now, if you find the baby, you have to provide the king cake the next year.
Okay.
I'll eat my way around digging for that.
Tough shot by Coulibaly. And it's going to be LSU basketball. Bella Hines, no. Kate Koval will get a couple of shots. Koval, who's got a little blood on her face near her nose, and her teammates trying to help her out right there. Came over from Notre Dame. And just another post body for Kim Mulkey. Well, gymnastics takes over the SEC network every Friday night, and we'll have another great doubleheader for you. It's Missouri at Kentucky, the 7th-ranked Tigers out of Como, and then Auburn will travel to LSU on the mats.
Let me tell you, watching those gymnastic meets, I love the floor exercises and the music interpretation.
Yeah.
Wow. And then the flips that they can do. Holy cow.
I saw Morgan Price, who was a part of Fisk's gymnastics team. That was the first HBCU to have a gymnastics program. She transferred over to another Power 4 school, and she did a wonderful floor exercise, giving a nice little shout out to Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which she and I are a member of, as Caitlyn Duhan knocks down the 3. But the creative license that we have seen taken on those floor exercises, they just keep getting better and better.
Well, in the SEC, I mean, they got as many teams ranked just about like women's basketball.
Yeah. We know the DD Bro special aired Wednesday at the PMAC for all to enjoy. She was the Dean of Coaches at LSU, 40-year career for the Tigers gymnastics team.
1 minute remaining, 1 minute.
Final minute of this one. Now say this, we came on the air talking about Auburn, and the one thing that they've been able to do is hang on their hat defensively and how they're holding opponents to under their season scoring average. And they will notch yet another. It'll be 24 of their 25 opponents. They've done so as they've slowed LSU in terms of how frequently they score. Coming in averaging 97 a game as Caitlyn Duhan puts it in.
Yeah, I think Larry Vickers has to look, you got to find the victories within the game. And I think holding LSU to 20 below their average, if they're able to get a stop right here, would be a plus.
Out and running and putting up more points. So the quarters in terms of scoring for Auburn got better and better each quarter.
And they were able to turn LSU over 19 times.
We'll dribble out this one and conclude this game from